What do you feel like the Lahui should know?
They need to know that they don't know what they don't know. For real. Like, how do you know you don't qualify for a home? How do you know you can't buy land? How do you know if you never tried to find out?
Hey, what's up? I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Brooks Onishi, here at Symphony Honolulu. Give a warm welcome to Brooks Onishi.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Rada. It's good to see you. It's good to see somebody who is on the grind, but also on the multifaceted grind. You're in the real estate industry, you're in the investment side, you're in the loans, you're in the social media, which is wild. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about a whole bunch of things today.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be on the other side of the couch for once.
So I remember you telling me you kind of have grown up in multiple places, right? What area of Hawaii do you feel like is most home to you?
Excuse me. Well, it's a really good question. I think having been so many places at different points of my life, right? They all have their memories. It's got its own feeling of what I was going through at that time. So I really feel that I am half Oahu, half Big Island.
Hilo, Kona,
Waimea.
Waimea.
Yeah, it was completely different. Like, so going from living in Aiea at St. Louis Middle School to living in Waimea and attending Honoka'a High School, ninth grade.
Ninth grade, Honoka'a, and then you came back St. Louis, somewhere in between?
No, so I spent majority of my high school career on the Big Island.
Okay.
And then in 97, graduation year, I moved back to Oahu. So I got a lot of my life experiences during high school, which is learning how to become a man, learning how to fall in love, how to date, all these things, right? How to find yourself in that sea of everybody else who doesn't know who they are. And a lot of Big Island is instilled in me as far as like the culture up there. It's a little bit country and a lot Hawaiian, right? But there's a lot of love there. There just wasn't a lot of work. So graduating high school or, at that year, what is there to do afterwards? There's nothing to look forward to. So where's all the money? Where's my side of the family that makes a good living? They're all the realtors. They're my mom's side of the family. They're all on Oahu. So it just made sense to come back to Oahu and try to make a living.
And how long did you spend at St. Louis?
Just 2 years. So 7th and 8th grade. A lot of people don't realize that St. Louis has a middle school program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So grew up Catholic? Not so much?
Yes. So I was baptized Catholic. I went to Our Savior Lutheran in Aiea. It was a private school there. So not really participating in a Lutheran church per se, but just as a private school, the structure is usually better. And there's a lot of times with the private school, traditionally there's a religion attached to it, right?
Right.
But from there I went to St. Elizabeth's.
Okay.
And then over to St. Louis.
Yeah. And your children are also blessed with a private school education?
They are. Having a unique experience of going from private to public, I understand the impact.
So what are you into now? What's you do a lot of stuff. Where would you even start to try to tell somebody like this is Brooks Onishi, this is what I do?
Well, this is Brooks Onishi. I am a full-time loan officer, private investor, and I am a community member. So I like sharing the knowledge that I have of finance and investing and really any other thing that gives me an aha moment that I could pass on to somebody else. Like I do a lot of content. I do social media.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary today in today's world in order to get ahead. And I want to succeed and excel in life, and I want to be a good example for my kids and other community members. So I've got to do these things that are required, right, in order to the recipe for success. So I'll do the social media, and that allows me to reach more people and share more information, and just trying to figure out how to leverage all those things, which are really they're just past experiences that I could have never quantified would end up putting me in this position with this skill set to be able to do these things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are at Guild Mortgage now, but as of 3 weeks ago, you were not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, as you know, you've been in a complete cycle for the market,
At this point, yeah.
right?
Took a while.
Right. It did. It has. And so not many people in sales and real estate in specifically have been through an up, a down, and a back up again market. So a lot of people got rich in the last 10 years. A lot of them aren't here right now,
That's true. Yeah.
right? So whenever there is that downsizing, there is consolidating, there's a lot of movement. Everybody's trying to find home, right? All the turtles are trying to find land because here comes the water. and so everybody's got to find the big companies are smart. They start to absorb all the ones that aren't financially capable to sit there. And, for whatever reason, I just joined Academy Mortgage, and Academy was in position to sell or to be acquired by Guild. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
I get excited at change. I do. I like, what's next? Like, ooh, what's around the corner? Not like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. I get excited at change.
Yeah.
I love new stuff. I like winging it. I like adapting. I like problem solving. I like just figuring it out. That's where the excitement's at.
That's awesome. How did you get started in real estate investing?
My parents, my mom, and my grandmother.
What kind of real estate investing did they do back then? Because I feel like the way that we invest now is different. The principles are the same, but the barrier to entry is actually a lot lower for real estate investing now, right? As opposed to back in the day. Or it was lower back then because the purchase price was lower.
Well, it's all relative, right?
Right.
Right. It's because of inflation and stuff like that. So I think the barrier to entry now might seem lower because we're more educated about the creative ways to make these things work, right? They were always in existence, but just undiscovered. And knowledge is power. So we're learning how to do different things, to think outside the box. That's just, that is the generation that we live in, right? Everybody's opportunistic. Everybody's trying to find that next, I'm the first one to do this, first to market, first to throw a punch, and that's amazing. But I learned it because my grandmother got into real estate and built a property management company. So I grew up changing screens, fixing things, going and checking out tenants with my grandfather, showing properties on the weekends with my grandmother, sitting at open houses. I remember one time in Pearl Ridge, the townhouses up in Pearl Ridge Estates, right below Pearl Ridge Estates. My grandmother was at a townhouse for an open house, and I pulled the fire alarm. It was actually a security alarm with a panic button upstairs. It was just a button. It wasn't red. Didn't say anything but I'm a kid, and I had to actually reach up like this to push the button. As soon as I pushed it, the siren went off, and it was just like, it kind of makes me giggle now, but my grandmother was probably stressing, like sitting in the open house, there's people walking in, and the alarm goes off and she can't turn it off. But those are my memories. So that in itself, as a property manager, you're helping people manage their investments, right? So it started from that. My grandmother's now in a care home, but she has a portfolio, and all her properties are almost all paid off. Some of them are paid off, and that's how we're able to afford to make sure that she has more than enough care that she needs. You know
That's
what I mean?
awesome.
And then my mom along the way followed suit, and she became a realtor and started accumulating properties as well. So seeing that, watching them, amass a portfolio, the changes they've had to make, move things around, sell, upgrade, consolidate, that's how I learned, but that's what I grew up around. So innately, I have this urge to do that,
Yeah.
right? So, and I've learned by becoming a realtor. I learned on the sales side of it what it's like to go through. I was a realtor before I bought my own house, right? And I think a lot of realtors are. I helped people buy and sell houses way before I even was able to buy my own house. So it's always just the progression of where I think my career would have ended up anyway, the things that I'm passionate about.
Right. That's awesome, man. You are a host of a podcast called Real Hawaii Talk. Is
Yes.
that right? Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, like everybody else, I've got an opinion. I have feelings of things that resonate with me, and the feeling of things that resonate with me is, I feel like it's got to resonate with other people.
Yeah.
Who can I share this with? Who can I talk to about this? And like, yes, I'm on the right path. I feel the same way. Okay, great. We feel the same way about whatever topic this is. What can we do about it? Let's talk about it. Right? I think communication is something that's very lacking in today's society. I think in the grand scheme of history, communication, right? Lack of maybe not an understanding of how to communicate properly has probably caused wars, right?
Yeah.
So I suppose one of my natural gifts is just learning how to communicate, talk to people, and show empathy, understand, and then when you boil it down, at the end of the day, that's actually what sales is anyway.
Yeah.
It's a transfer of emotion, right? So I have the ability to talk to people and help guide them in an emotional transaction or situation, and try to ease some of that stress and make it as enjoyable, sunny, and as fun as possible.
You had a piece on one of your reels about how you, and I'm just putting this in my own words, kind of synthesize your experience of Big Island and Oahu and how that shapes how you interact with people in the islands right now.
Yeah. It boils down to that half Big Island, half Oahu feel. That's like, where are you from? If I'm on Oahu, I'll say I'm from Big Island. If I'm Big Island, I'll say I'm from Oahu. And it's all true.
Yeah.
To me. You know what I mean? Like, my high school years up there is that's some of the most important times. I remember what I went through in high school more than my childhood. Like, that's how big of an impact the Big Island had on me. That's where my family is. That's where I connected with, that side of the family. So what I learned up there was family, community, love, aloha, right? I think I was born innately with this very sunny disposition. So naturally, I feel like I had genetic aloha. And on Oahu, I have a family who's very successful. They understand how to make a living. They didn't struggle. My mom was a single mother. she managed to put me through private school on her own, right? And all that was afforded by real estate, right? So, so here I am as an adult. I understand the real estate world. What do you know? I become a realtor, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm all of it. I'm both. I am Oahu because I learned how to catch the bus, make my way around the world on this island without a car. And I think many kids nowadays, my kids, will probably never really understand how to navigate the bus system, right? And that's how I was able to figure things out. Like my mom was a single mom. I had to figure it out. She's not always available, you know? And then on the Big Island, it's the love aloha, the family dynamic is there for you, but there is a different sense of, it's more laid back. Expectations are different. Standards are a little more relaxed. So, it's the professional world, being able to make a living, learning how to grow up in the city, going to the country and really falling in love with the peace and the beauty of nature and community. And that was Big Island was my first real taste of what it's like to be Hawaiian.
You have two kids, you mentioned, right? A boy and a girl?
Yep.
With raising men in Hawaii these days, like what is like one of the biggest threats that you see as a father for masculinity in Hawaii, in today's day and age, right? With the digital culture and with the economy, the way things are, what is something that you find yourself thinking about as a father of a human that may one day also be a father?
The first thing that came to mind when you said that was masculinity itself. I think there is a misperception of what masculinity is, and I will preface this whole next section by, I don't know that I know what it is. I have a feeling. I didn't meet my dad till I was 15.
Wow.
Or no, 13. I'm sorry. But I didn't know what it was like to be around a man, like somebody that I looked up to. What's the correct example, right? There is no correct example when it comes to being a parent. There is the example I had, and the example of what I want to be, right? What I want for my kids. I had to learn how to be a man on my own. Right? And honestly, I will say too, I don't think I did most of my growing up until my divorce. I think I grew up, I did like 15 years of growth in the last 3 years.
Wow.
Right.
So what is something that you might want to pass on to your son, maybe that you did not receive initially from a father?
Well, two things. There's the physical aspect as a man, right, in other men, and I'll say this, having gone to St. Louis, where there is a lot of like toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Learning how to be a man around other men is different than learning how to be a man and how to take care of a woman and your family, right? I think as men, we feel like we have this bravado that we have to upkeep around other men,
Okay.
when really how I take care of my woman and my kids is how I would define a man. Now, I'm not the best example of that. I've made tons of mistakes. Like I said, I had a divorce, and now I am learning how to be a co-parent, how to be an absentee parent, not in the sense where I'm not there, but I'm not in the household anymore,
Right.
right? And so, I mean, that's I'm still in the learning process of that.
Yeah.
how do I deal with that? How do I be the best dad I can without having direct access all the time? You know,
Yeah. That's good. Sorry, that was kind of deep. It was pretty deep.
that's good.
But so you have a second podcast, and it's a little different from your Real Hawaii Talk, right?
Yes, I haven't launched it yet.
Okay.
It's in its development stage, but my career will always be in real estate because this is what we need. This is Hawaii's. I think it's Hawaii's biggest commodity,
Agreed. Yeah.
right? It's location.
Literally, it is
Yes.
literally the biggest
Yeah.
commodity. Yeah.
And its location, its desired acquisition of said Hawaii, Aina, right? So who has it, who wants it, and how much you willing to pay for it? And that on both sides of it, that is how some people will learn to get ahead. It's also, some people's struggles. It's why we have a job, because everybody needs a place to live.
Yeah.
So in a world where we grew up and live in a place that everybody else wants to live, it's kind of a no-brainer. So
Yeah. So Aloha Wealth and Wisdom is the name that we're working with.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing me back to that. Real Hawaii Talk seems to be real, like the things that we want to talk about that we struggle with,
Yeah.
that maybe are uncomfortable, and I'm learning how to enjoy being uncomfortable. And the Aloha Wealth and Wisdom is kind of the lighter side of things. So, I've been talking about financial literacy this whole time, and Real Hawaii Talk was that. At the time, that's where I needed to be. So now I realize that there is two sides of it. Where did we come from? What are we dealing with right now as a local community, right, in the state of Hawaii? And the other side of that, the lighter side of that is, okay, well, how do we solve those problems? Where do we go from here? How do we get there? Who has the knowledge that can share it with us?
Right.
And then how do I share that with everybody else? So there will be kind of the where do we come from? What are we doing? And who do we want to be and how do we get there? That's really, because there's two sides to everything, and I don't want to always be just that kind of darker, dramatic. I want to be the fun and loving and because that's really a more well-rounded human being anyway. It's both sides.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you said with the masculinity too, right? There's that outside with when you need that competitive edge, when you need to deal with other soldiers, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the dealing with the family and the home.
Yeah. I had to learn. I mean, getting into fights when you're young, learning how to deal with that, learning how to set your boundaries. Like, I got my ass kicked a couple of times, learning how to shut my mouth when my opinion doesn't matter. And those are things that I learned too growing up as a kid. And it's like, okay, then you take that to the business world. Well, it's a little bit more raw and animalistic in a sense, but you understand, like, hey, some things shouldn't be said. There are some etiquette. Not everything needs to be fought over. And learning how to use my words, I can save a lot of heartache and bridge gaps. So I think being a connector is what has really been my goal, my purpose.
Yeah.
And then inwardly, how do I be that person is to work on myself,
Yeah.
right? Learn how to set my own boundaries, learn how to tell people no, learn how to protect myself, learn how to care for my kids, learn how to I got to care for my ex-wife too, learn how to care for her, learn how to care for my mom and my dad and all these things that I carry with me. I feel like everybody has past traumas growing up. Even princes and princesses, right, feel that they're caged and they can't be free. Like, it's all relative. Like, everybody's got their own perception of what their reality is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you said about being a connector and then also on the molecular level or on the more microcosmic level, learning how to malama yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because everything is a lahui. So, right? And life is about the lahui, right? When you talk about connection and communication means to share, right? Share with other people. But one of the things that I find analogy that I like to use is just everything is community building, right? Within my own na'au, I have a community, and my body, your body, is in and of itself a system, right? That has to work with each other,
It
right?
is.
Digestive,
My organs are a community that works together, right?
right?
You're so my spirit,
Yeah.
my mental, my physical. That is another.
Everything connected,
Yeah.
right? One impacts the other. And so our stewardship, our malama of that inner man, right? Now we extend just a little bit to your direct community, to your family, to your coworkers, right? Your ohana, your hana ohana.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is another, it should be an extension of the way that we are malamaing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is the order of the universe is such that, like, the better you malama your kuleana, right? In real estate history in Hawaii, kuleana was a parcel of land. Yeah. So the better you malama your kuleana tract, the more is given to you. And it's very biblical too, right? You growing up in Catholic school is like to him much has been given, much will be required, right? And then when you have the parable of the talents, the one that does well with the 5 talents gets more, and then the one that doesn't do well with one loses the one, right?
And that translates to business too. Your employers, if you're working a W-2, your employer's not going to promote you if you can't handle what you got in front of you, right? And if you think otherwise, you're just entitled. You didn't earn it,
Right. Right.
right?
And then the ones that do well with a lot, like you can kind of trust them with more load, right?
Right.
As opposed to the ones that don't do well with a little, and it's like,
Yeah. Why am I going to give you more?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, being a steward, whether it's in business or your home life, you're going to put your energy where it's going to grow.
and I
You're not
think
going to
that
put it somewhere to die.
that's the thing that I think we need to understand and kind of get back to is when we see money or we see land, the tendency as Americans is to see it as something that we possess for ourselves, unto ourselves, for ourselves, and not given to us to steward, right? So if we're looking at items or possessions as things to hoard for ourselves, the way that we're going to look at it is in terms of fairness, our perceived idea of fairness is like, well, so-and-so has that much, I should have that much as well. But we're not dealing with possessions that are for our own benefit, right? We're dealing with things that have been given to us to steward. So if we're given things to steward, then it's not like, oh, I should steward as much as that guy. Like, no, that's not how the order of things works. If somebody else is doing better, like if they are stewarding the land better, then the entire community will rally behind that one. It's like, he's doing good.
How do we help him
Yeah.
continue to do that because it helps us?
It helps us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I sparked a thought and I might have cut you off.
Well, yes. Not cut me off, but my ADHD, when something comes up, if I don't spit it out now, I'll forget it later.
Okay. I hope you didn't forget it.
Just saying that I did. No, I'm just kidding. It was what we were talking about. The steward.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're managing. You're caring for. Right. We steward everything in life. Nothing is ours. It's all temporary and it's all rented.
Yeah.
Because life is finite. Right.
Right.
So if you were talking about like macro, micro, like, so zoom out. Zoom out. Life is short, right? I'm going to covet all these material things, and I'm guilty of it too, right? I'm going to covet all these material things. I can't take them with me. All I am doing is enjoying it for the time I'm here, right? And the sole purpose of human life is to learn and pass it on,
Yeah.
right? We grow up, growing up in itself is is by definition learning. You grow up, start a family, pass it on. That's it. That is our lives in a nutshell. Right? So my purpose is to pass it on.
Yeah.
Right? And while I'm here, I can pass it out. I can pass it out to everybody who's around me, who needs it, who asks for help.
Yeah.
And thus I've also learned to ask for help as well and not have that masculinity get in the way.
You did your grandma grow fruit? Did you guys grow fruit growing up?
No, not
No?
my grandmother was in love with orchids.
Okay.
Yeah.
My family, we always had, everybody's always growing fruit.
Yeah.
Great uncle's growing fruit, grandma's growing fruit. To this day, my dad, he's not so much of a fruit guy, but he's got like his vegetables, his squash, his eggplant and stuff.
Yeah.
And within the community, there's always this, hey, go bring this to uncle's house. Right? We have,
Yeah.
right? We got
Abundance.
go bring them tangerines.
It's abundance
Right?
mindset.
It's abundance. And also I had this kind of revelation watching my family always giving fruit off because the fruit is perishable. Mm-hmm. You cannot hoard your supply.
No, there's a timing to it,
Yeah.
right? You pick it before it's ripe.
Yeah.
Because when you pick it when it's ripe, it's too late.
Yeah.
And then you gotta be able to give it so that they can enjoy it at the perfect time.
Yeah. So I was able to see, at least in like the farming community, that it's like there's no use in trying to keep as much fruit as possible because it
Doesn't last.
it doesn't last.
Yeah.
So the way that we don't waste is we make sure that everybody eats.
Yeah. And that is counter intuitive to, I think, some of the lessons that I've learned from maybe corporate America.
Okay. Yeah.
They'd rather throw it away than give it away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm giving away something, that means I am, one, not benefiting from the value, the monetary value of something, or what they paid for it, or whatever. And two, that means nobody else can benefit and maybe excel because I'm giving something away. It's really one of the harder lessons that I've learned in life, I guess.
Okay.
That there are some people that would rather throw it away than give it away. You know, whereas what you just mentioned, we grew up with giving it away. In fact, I like smoking meat. It's just, I feel more Hawaiian, I guess. I go to Costco, I buy the country style rib pack because it's already cut up in perfect, slices. And then I actually get the that Korean barbecue sauce from Costco.
Yeah.
That's what I use to marinate.
Okay.
Because the Hawaiian smoked meat is basically a teriyaki sauce of sorts, right?
Okay.
And I'll go smoke meat, a bunch of it. And I've been doing that for years. My ex and my kids don't eat it. So I make a ton and I give it away. Because I enjoy giving away.
Yeah.
Like the smoked meat and sharing with the community.
And that's another testament to how the lahui just increases your experience of life. Like what are we without the lahui? If you don't know lahui, it's community, the nation.
Yeah.
And there's so many examples. It's like you go surf by yourself, let's say nobody else out there, catch the most epic wave of your life. Woo! Look around. Cannot share.
Nobody saw it. Did anybody see that?
Cannot share and nobody's there. Yeah.
Because after that, it's a fishing tail, right?
Yeah. And even like smoked meat is right. You make a good batch. Oh, that's ono. And then what? You cannot share.
Yep.
No ono, right? And how much more is your life benefited by you being able to share? The other night, I ventured out. I broke out the Instant Pot for the first time. Single male, never used the Instant Pot before. Grabbed some osobuco from I guess that's calf shank or whatever. You know osobuco, huh?
Yeah.
Like it's a cheap cut, but it's the bone in with the marrow.
Yeah.
So I bought some from Whole Foods, and we're coming up on Lent. I was like, well, I can't. I have all these shanks and I can't save them. So I called up one of my buddies in the building, like, hey, I'm making osobuco. He's like, what you want me to bring? I'm like, nothing. Like, you just got to let me know how good this this meat is.
You just need to validate my cooking skills.
Yeah. And he did, and that blessed my existence. And I'm not worried about like, oh well, shit. Now he owes me $17 for his portion of his, like. It increased the value of my experience by being able to share it with someone.
You know, I think universally, feeding somebody is like the basic an act of love and service that you can do, because there is no real reciprocation of that in the moment.
Yeah.
You're feeding them, you're nourishing them, and aside from just local Hawaiian culture, that I think anywhere in the world that stands true.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also have a handle. So I don't even know how to pivot off of this into something a little bit more
First world.
capitalistic. We don't have to. But let's see. You kind of style yourself as Vanguard Hawaii. How did that come up?
It came up because I learned how to play video games later on in life. One of my mom's properties that I was living in early on, before I got my real estate license, this must have been like 2003. She bought a house and it had a rental unit downstairs. So it was a single family home, and then they built a unit downstairs. So I went to go live in it. My neighbors upstairs were college kids, and long story short, I ended up becoming good friends with them. But they played video games, and I'm like, "What are you guys making all that noise upstairs for?" You know. So I go upstairs, and they're playing video games, and I see how competitive they were, and I ended up getting into it. And Vanguard Hawaii ended up being my gamer tag. That's how it started.
That's awesome.
And I don't know why, but the game I started playing was Halo at the time. And so, you know, there's that military type feel to it. I'm going to come up with something clever. And I don't know why Vanguard just stuck out, but I mean, if you look up the definition of Vanguard, it's like the group, in a military sense, it's the first group that leads, right? That goes in.
Okay.
There's also other uses that I've seen. It is kind of like on the cutting edge, the forefront of a movement.
I like that.
Yeah. So I Vanguard Hawaii, right? I want to be recognized for Hawaii. I want everybody to know, because I am Hawaiian, Japanese, Portuguese. That is equal quarters, and then the rest is mixed. But my identity, I am outwardly local, which typically is majority Hawaiian, right? I identify with being a Hawaiian male. But I am also Japanese and Portuguese. So I've learned that the definition of local, in the sense of Hawaii, actually means more to me than just Hawaiian, because I'm not only Hawaiian, right?
Yeah.
But so that's where I added the Hawaii in there, and it just stuck. It's evolved with me.
Yeah. I love it. So you are in lending, so I feel like we should talk about that a little bit. What is something that you would like people to know about lending or the home buying process that they might not, especially in this time where real estate values appear to be out of control and rates seem to be an obstacle to overcome? What is something that you feel like the consuming public should know?
They need to know that they don't know what they don't know.
Okay.
Right? So
Can I revise my question? I didn't like the way I worded it.
for sure.
What do you feel like the lahui should know?
They need to know that they don't know what they don't know. For real. Like, how do you know you don't qualify for a home? How do you know you can't buy land? How do you know if you never tried to find out? How do you know you can't afford that house if you've never gotten pre-approved? Right?
Yeah. How do you know?
That is the number one thing. Majority of the people I talk to, now a lot of people will approach me or ask me questions, whether it's on social media or they run into me in person, and they ask questions, and they're like, "I'm sorry if this is a stupid question." I was like, "No, it's not." I said, before we go further, try to get rid of that feeling like it's a stupid question. You don't know the answer, and you're finding out. You're speaking out to ask, to learn. I would never belittle you for not knowing. But you keep asking the same question, expecting a different answer. That's where anybody would consider it like you should know better now, right? But if you don't know, go find out.
That's good. That's good. What are there any special products that you feel like people should know about as far as loan products are concerned?
Well, I think reverse mortgages are going to make a comeback.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do. And I want to instill the fact that if you just heard me say reverse mortgage and maybe your spidey sense went off, that is because it was abused in the past,
Okay.
right? Now, I believe reverse mortgages are a good product for our community because there are a ton of homeowners with equity that are later in the later years of their life that need to access that but don't know how. Right? I mean, all the way from I've got investors that are in their retire years and they like, how do we do this? How do we have a house and that's it. We've got fixed income. How do we do this? A reverse mortgage in the right situation can help you out with that.
Wow. That's good. That's valuable.
Right. But they got to understand all of it, right? They got to understand, what are you going to do with your home when you pass? Is there a legacy? Are you leaving it to somebody? You got to plan it out. You know, just buying something in and of itself doesn't answer all your problems.
Yeah.
You got to have a plan.
Yeah.
So reverse mortgages will make a comeback. I think that'll help generationally too. Some of the younger generation will be able to afford because of the perpetuation of what the parents have accumulated. And that would be one way to tap into it. There are good FHA products that are coming out. I'm excited because Guild has one where there's like a 1% down. And
Really?
So an FHA product.
Wow.
So there is more creative financing available, and it's always evolving. But aside from the products, aside from rates, aside from all that stuff, you just got to know that you got to get pre-approved. Whether you're an investor or you're trying to buy your first home, your credit score, what you can make in monthly payments, it's all relative, and that's where you got to start.
So what does the pre-approval process look like to somebody that doesn't even know what you're talking about right now? Like what is that, Brooks? Pre-approved?
Pre-approval is when you want to buy a house, you talk to a lender.
Okay.
How much can I qualify for? How much is a bank willing to lend me so that I can go buy a home?
Okay. And what does that process look like? What does the borrower need to do in order to get pre-approved?
First thing you do is call me.
Okay.
And then after some, answering some questions, making you feel comfortable about the process, we have you fill out an application. The application is going to show us the three main things is your credit score, your income, and your expenses, right? Your credit score is your report card for how well you pay your bills. So the higher your credit score, the less of a risk, the more money the bank's willing to let you borrow or more favorable terms. The more of a risk, you're going to have to pay more in order to make them feel more comfortable with the situation and lend you the money. That's just kind of the law of nature.
Right.
And then how much money you bring in versus how much expenses you have every month. That's called your debt to income ratio. Now, what that does is tells me, okay, you make $5,000 a month. On your credit report, you have a minimum of $1,000 of expenses every month. So your debt to income is you're bringing in $5,000, you have to pay $1,000. That means there's $4,000 in there that we can figure out how much of a mortgage you can manage, right? Is affordable for you. That's how you figure out what you qualify for on purchase price by starting to figure out how much of a monthly payment will fit into your budget. Then that monthly payment equals a loan amount. So it's kind of like you have to go backwards. And I always tell everybody this. we are consumers, so we will go shopping for the home before we get pre-approved. We will go shopping on Amazon and window shopping before we even have a credit card to go pay for it, right? But we need that credit card, so you got to apply for the credit card before you can even approach the store, right? So no realtor nowadays, and this is how it should be anyway, no realtor wants to waste their time showing somebody a house that's not pre-approved. Because how do I know that you can actually qualify for this house? So aside from just how do we get there, think considerately about everybody else's time. You want to buy a house, you should have all your ducks in a row. How much do I qualify for? Am I comfortable with that monthly payment? Now let's go shopping, right?
Yeah.
But we've been trained to do it backwards, I think, in society because we're a consumer like culture.
Yeah.
So just figuring that out first, but you got to talk about it. You got to call the loan officer, myself, or anybody else for that matter. But you got to have the conversation. Here's my credit score. Here's how much I make. How much can I borrow? And then we go through the process. You got to get started first.
Yeah, that's good. So you are an investor and also a businessman. I feel like we have that in common.
We do have a lot in common.
What investment opportunities or business opportunities are you excited about right now? Prospective or current?
I'm excited. I'm excited about the content, the social media stuff that we're doing. I'm excited about the podcast. Let me rephrase that. I'm passionate about the podcast. I'm passionate about our social media because I believe in the message. I believe in the conversations and the people that I connect with, such as yourself. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, when my kids look at my social media, I'm not embarrassed about anything. I'm proud of it, right? It's kind of like how I want to live my life. So I try to make sure that it's as true to life on camera as it is off, right? That's led me down other opportunities where we're starting to do social media management. We're in the realm of helping each other. I think we're kind of on the same level when it comes to the production of content and where we want to go with this. I've got a lot of people asking me, like, how do I get started in content? How do I get started with a business? I have a realtor on the Big Island just referred me a client, and they're talking about how to get qualified. The end of the conversation, I'm helping her start her own LLC, create a business, so that 2 years from now, she will be able to qualify. So it's not just, like understanding how to become an entrepreneur, how to open up and establish your own business. It's just business practices, and that's easy stuff that I can share. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the change in rates, which is spurring everybody's mind. It's changing their mindset of like, oh, okay, there's an excitement factor. Yeah. Now, there is a lot more movement in the market. I am getting more clients calling me back now, more realtors contacting. So I'm excited that there is movement again, as opposed to all the doom and gloom, rates this, rates that, which, everybody's been talking about. Yeah. When in reality, the smart ones have been buying rate regardless.
Wow. So they've continued buying.
They're buying. This whole, even though it seems more expensive, they're buying. Right?
Yeah, I guess when the rates drop more, that doesn't mean that the purchase price is going to stay the same, right? If anything, it may increase.
Traditionally, that's what we would see, right? The law of supply and demand.
Yeah.
So the rates drop, money gets cheaper, right? It's called cheap money. It's cheaper to borrow. And then what happens? Now everybody that was sitting on the sidelines now qualify, and they're back in the game.
Yeah.
So that means more competition. That means, and especially seasonally too, we're coming out of the holiday season, which is traditionally a slow time of the year.
Right.
Right? Everybody wants a Christmas tree. Nobody wants to be moving during Christmas. And then after that, everybody has to recover from Christmas, all the money they spent on gifts and all the family time and all that stuff. And then tax season. And then the market starts moving again. So it's like spring, all the eggs are hatching.
Yeah. It feels like that on my end too. Are there any, because this is about the Lahui, is there anybody you want to shout out to before we wrap it up?
You know what? I've been a big proponent and supporter of Everyday Better.
It was Eric?
Eric, Big E. Yeah.
Right, Eric.
He's sending out a message
Yeah.
that is just one of positivity. And if you ever get the chance to surround yourself with him, he is just high energy positivity. And it is infectious. So, he's been a supporter and he's been there for me when I've had, some emotional times challenging in my life. And he's there, he's authentic. So I've made it a point as much as possible. I have like 50 of his t-shirts, and that's usually what I wear on a daily basis, like a walking advertisement, because I support the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good message too.
Yeah. Yeah. And our friend Jeremy, who introduced us.
Shout out Jeremy Chang,
Shout
Creative
out to
Building
Jeremy
Solutions.
Chang. He's entrepreneurial, and he's opened my mind up to see different things that are possible. I'm sure he's done the same in his own way, and I know too that I have some value to give back. Otherwise it would just be a charity. And I think, as business individuals, entrepreneurs, there's got to be a level of reciprocation, or else I'm going to go and put my energy into another basket where I do feel more of that sense of synergy and community.
And that's what it is to be a Lahui at the end of it, right? It's we cannot have citizens just take, right? There's that synergy, and that's just
The
what
only
it
ones that are allowed to take are the ones who cannot do for themselves, which are usually the keiki and the elderly, and the kupuna. And but that is our kuleana, Oh, kuleana. Okay, I gotta go visit my grandma. I do, and I need to spend time with my mom and my dad and take it easy on them because they've never been parents before.
It's a good word, brother. It's a good word. Well, I'm glad we got to peel back the veil a little bit and learn a little bit about Brooks Onishi, what makes you tick, where you come from, and what you're excited about in the future. If people are looking for you and want to find you, want to work with you, how can they do that?
Instagram is easy way, at Vanguard_Hawaii, HAWAII. My cell, 808-372-7092. You can Google me and you'll find all of my information. But just reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You gotta start somewhere. And if I don't know the answer to whatever it is, I know somebody who does. And we share that. We're not gatekeepers.
Yeah. Actually, you gave me a great contact for a split AC guy that I'm gonna meet today. So
I will tell you, he is the most humble. I mean, I will use him for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's helped me out so many times. He's very humble and gracious and a hard worker, and he's a really good guy. I'm sure that you will pass his information on to even more people and bless him.
yeah. Right on. Our guest today, Brooks Onishi, Guild Mortgage. Real Hawaii Talk is the name of his current podcast. And stay tuned for what his second is going to be. Vanguard Hawaii on Instagram. And just an all-around solid guy, man. I'm so glad that you made the time to be with us today. Thank you.
Appreciate it.